So this video will introduce lines in R2 and R3. So lines are determined by one of two things. If you have a line in R2, just a regular line in the plane, then I can completely describe the line if you give me 2 points. You give me 2 points, there's a single line that passes through them. Or I can also describe a line by giving you a single point and a slope. Then that completely describes a single line as well. Well, if I'm in R2 or even R3 or beyond, I could describe a line by giving two things: a point on the line and a perpendicular vector, or excuse me, a parallel vector to the line, a parallel vector. In R2 and R3, the slope will be given by a vector that's parallel to the line. Let's do a main example. So if you can understand this example that I'm about to do, then you'll understand how we're going to find equations for lines in general. So a line contains the point 2, 1, let's say, and is parallel to the vector negative 1, 1. My main question is, what are the parametric equations for the line? Okay, watch what I'm about to do. Watch what I'm about to do. First, I'll draw the line in question. So here is the line, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. So the point 2, 1 is on the line. So there's the point 2, 1. And the line is parallel to the vector negative 1, 1. So let's say I'm at this point, I'm at 2, negative 1. And then if I draw the vector negative 1, 1, that means I go one step backwards in the x direction and one step up in the y direction. So I get this vector. That's the vector negative 1, 1. So the line that I'm actually interested in is this one. So what are the parametric equations for this line? All right, pay attention to this idea. Pay attention to this idea. I'm going to give you instructions on how to start at the origin. I'm going to start at 0, 0 and land on an arbitrary point on my line. So I'm going to give you a way to start at 0, 0 and land somewhere on the red line. The instructions are going to come in two pieces. The first thing I want you to do is, starting at 0, 0, go to the point 2, 1. Next, after you go to 2, 1, I'd like you to pick an arbitrary value of t. T could be any real number, positive, negative, doesn't even have to be a whole number. Pick any number t, and then the last thing I want you to do is move in the direction of t times the vector negative 1, 1. So here's my instructions in action. I start at 0, 0. All right, here my pencil is at 0, 0. The next thing I do is I go to the point 2, 1. So now I go here. So now I go to the point 2, 1. Then I pick a random value for t. So maybe I picked t equals negative 2. Then I move in the direction of negative 2 times my vector. So that would mean I'd go negative 2 times the direction of this vector. So I'd be going in the opposite direction and land here. If you think about it for a minute, following these instructions will land me on every point in the line depending on how I choose t. So first I get to a point on the line. Then once I'm at a point on the line, I travel some distance this way or some distance that way and get to an arbitrary point. Now, instructions on how to move are a vector. So in vector form, my instructions are first, if I'm starting at 0, 0, go to 2, 1. So that means travel 2 steps in the x direction, 1 step in the y direction. Now notice I'm using angled brackets here to denote a vector. That's different than the point. This is telling me to move 2 steps in the x direction, 1 step in the y direction, whereas this is just a location in the xy plane. Then after that, after I go to my point on the line, I'm going to add a new set of instructions. I'm going to go some multiple of negative 1, 1. So in vector form, this is my instruction on how to get to a point on the line. Now this gives our parametric equations. This gives our parametric equations. I'll write them down for you. The x-coordinate is the first coordinate. If I actually add these vectors, that tells me x should equal 2 minus t. So I just look at the first components. And y should equal 1 plus t. And t can be any real number whatsoever. So I'll do another example in the next video, but this is really the main idea for lines. The main idea for lines is you describe a line in R2 or R3 by a point and a parallel vector. To get to a point on the line, you start at 0, 0, go to the point on your line, and then travel some distance along the line to get to an arbitrary location. If you write those instructions in vector form, they give you the parametric equations for a line. All right, join me in the next video for another example.